What's up, y'all? The title of this video is how it's explained how men would not commit to sex workers. This is a very hot topic because we live in an era of OnlyFans and Instagram and TikTok and all of this other stuff. And so what happens is we are seeing a lot of women exposing themselves and getting more into the sex industry. To be clear, they're perfectly free and clear to do that, but it comes at a cost, especially for those that want to eventually have a family. So let's hear what they have to say here on whatever.
Why would a guy not be interested in dating somebody who does the kind of work that we do if they okay, let's say you meet a girl and you genuinely like her personality, and then you find out that she does that, and then maybe she doesn't meet the stereotype that you've given that a girl to be in that kind of career. Like, would you still just call it off because of what she does, or would you be interested into like
I have a second card.
I don't
tonight.
know, have a second thought. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna vary from guy to guy. Like, I know that there's definitely guys that wouldn't care that much. There's some guys that actually push their women into doing like online sex work and whatnot. I can only speak for me personally. Like, if I was talking to a girl and I found out she did that, it would be I wouldn't be able to stomach it because, like I was telling her, like I'm a very territorial man when it comes to I don't want to share my woman with anyone.
And that's really common. I mean, it's safe to say most men wouldn't want their significant other, their girlfriend, their spouse, whomever, in the sex work where other men are enjoying them and they're exposing themselves online. I mean, imagine going to a company function with your wife or your girlfriend who's known to be a sex worker. You'll be the butt of all jokes. I mean, that's no good look. And, a woman, she's an extension of her man. So what happens is if she makes him look bad, that's going to just destroy the whole relationship. So it's really difficult for most men to really embrace that. Especially in the day and age of OnlyFans and all of that, because it's like that stuff is going to be around. That stuff is ubiquitous. It's going to be around forever. Your children are going to be able to pull that stuff up. I mean, you wouldn't be able to get into certain fields of work because of it. I mean, it's crazy. You're forever tainted.
I don't want guys knowing what her body looks like in terms of like what she looks like underneath her clothes, what she looks like naked, anything like that. Like, I want that to be reserved for me and me alone. And I want that to be a special thing that we share with one another. That's one aspect of the psychology. The other aspect of it is I don't want my kid's mother I don't want her body all over the internet. I don't want my kids to have to potentially deal with that someday because I read
first thing I
about
thought.
Kids who do get bullied at school for it and they end up killing themselves. And it's just, there's way too many liabilities there for me personally.
And what we're seeing too is, you have women like this, it bugs the hell out of me when they refer to themselves as girls because that insinuates some sort of innocence. But no, these are all grown ass women on a panel and they don't want to be held accountable. A wise man once said accountability is like kryptonite. All right. These women don't want to be held accountable for anything, and they think that they could move and act like men. And they don't understand, and they can't really grasp that men are always going to care about their past. And they're going to always care about a man's potential in his future. But men always care about a woman's past. If she comes from a past where it involves sex work and all of that, the probabilities of her getting married goes down substantially as opposed to a woman that hasn't been involved in that stuff. So, I mean, that's just how men operate.
To deal with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I also have a question for you guys.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, it's just
sorry.
It's just not right. She's gonna be pulling me in the other direction. I'm trying to serve Christ, I'm trying to serve God, and she's running the complete opposite direction. He brought up the equally yoked phrase earlier. He's talking about that yoked. He's talking about a yoke. You know how oxens are yoked together with this bar that goes across their neck. Well, unequally yoked would be two separate animals barred together. It just doesn't make sense to plow grain with two separate animals. That's what it's like being a believer with an unbeliever. Just two separate.
And I want to say this too, depending on the culture, and for example, in black culture, specifically with black men and black women, when a black woman says equally yoked, it typically means something else. So you might want to get clarification when someone used the term equally yoked, because I know it has biblical meaning, but here, and especially in a realm of modern dating and relationships, it means something else. So
Separate species, essentially, just does not make sense for me as a believer to be with an unbeliever.
Yeah. To bring it back to how I answered your question too, does my explanation about the territorialness and not wanting to share a woman make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you feel like that's
I
fair
think
and
that's-
justified?
I think that's fair. I think
Unfair.
sounds like somebody's hit a car.
Yeah, people drive by and try to make noises because they know the show's going on.
No way.
Yeah, happens all the
Okay.
time. People will wait for the show to start and then they'll like rev their engine down below.
That's
Yeah.
hella funny.
But so that makes sense to you?
No, it totally makes sense, and that's why I kind of just wrote off that I would even find somebody that and be in anything serious until I was done doing it, and not because I think that that's necessarily right. I've just accepted that.
And that's another thing too. It's like, how long is too long? Because it's like you're really going to waste your prime years where you should be probably looking for someone to marry. I mean, it's you're wasting all of these valuable years, and you're mismanaging your youthful years, and you think that when you get into your older years that it's going to be easier to find someone. No, ma'am. That's not what's going to happen. On the contrary, it's going to be pretty tough. It's going to be tough.
I think.
You might find a guy who has tolerance for it. I don't know.
I have a lot of fans, for I guess, that say that they would like to date me knowing what I do, but then once they're with me would want me to quit.
See, I'm going to explain why that's BS. Because we hear this all the time. Oh, these guys will date me. These guys will date me. And that's this overinflated sense of self-worth because they're getting a lot of DMs and all of that. So they think, well, all of these men are going to, they'll be more than willing to marry me and all of that. It's like, no, they'll want to have fun with you. They'll have sex with you. But in terms of marriage and all of that, the probabilities are very slim. Men would likely categorize you within two categories. One would be wife material. The second category would be probably for recreational use only. Like I said, men will sleep with you. Men will tell you sweet nothings. They'll tell you what they think you want to hear in order to sleep with you. But that's it. Men are biologically hardwired to want to have sex. So they're going to say anything, but you have to understand too that you don't have the same pull as if someone that's not into sex work, who's younger, who hasn't been sleeping around a lot, racked up bodies and all that, because remember, men always care about your past.
And I think that that's kind of hypocritical. It's like, wait, you found me like this, and now you want it to like. I think it's.
I think it's a
you might
kink.
feel
I
it's
think it's-
you might feel it's hypocritical, but I would argue it's actually a good impulse. It's a protective impulse that a man has towards his woman, right?
Wait, what did I miss? What is
Like,
hypocritical?
She was saying that guys will tell her fans will tell her from online that they want to date her, but once they have her, they would want her to stop her online sex
And-
work.
And then they have, I have a lot of like breeding, like they want to like put a baby, like I get a lot of that where they're like, oh, I want you to have my baby. I want.
Like I said, she'll get a ton of DMs. She's a sex worker, so yeah, she'll get a ton of DMs. Again, that's that overinflated sense of self-worth. Men will always swarm Instagram and TikTok, they'll send messages. Oh, baby, you're beautiful. Oh, I want to marry you. All this. They'll say everything. But these women, they ignore most of the messages. They ignore most of the messages because it's so, they get a barrage of messages. But much of the time, it's guys from other countries, other states. And yeah, they'll send them messages and everything. But I mean, who's really getting play? Probably very wealthy people with blue check marks, maybe. But that's it.
When you'd have my baby, like, so
Trying to
they
lock it
want,
down.
yeah, they want to like take it off the market. Does that make sense?
Okay.
It's just weird to me that you found me in this website and now you're trying to take it out
Well,
of the game.
let me ask you this: what man would want his woman still on the market?
Oh.
Well,
If she's
no,
his
that's
woman.
fair.
A pimp.
That's
What?
A pimp.
Yeah.
no, that's
Yeah,
fair.
true.
But I don't I don't see, because I'm not dating those people. Does that make
Right,
sense? Like,
right.
I'm not dating the people that are coming into my chat rooms, and I'm not dating those people. Those are not the clients.
Her lashes are messing up right here.
Hell, for a lack of
I don't know
another
why
term.
y'all wear that
That's
crap.
not. Those are not my possible suitors.
Yeah.
Well,
I just think it's interesting that
perhaps-
they.
Well, perhaps one way to address the whole hypocrisy thing is prior to dating, he had no problem with you engaging in what he considered single behavior. But once they started dating, he wanted her or you to act in a way that
Okay.
he thought was consistent with being in a relationship. So
Yeah, it's called acting appropriately because remember, you're an extension of him. He doesn't want to share you because here's the thing. When you're online, like I was saying, everyone has access to you. Everyone could see naked pictures of you, all of that. That's men are territorial. They don't want to share you with the world. And we live in a day and age where it's quite literally the world. I mean, you're exposed all over. So,
for example, I mean, a guy might, if you're single, we might not necessarily object to you going to bars, clubs, partying, posting provocative photos. But if we're in a relationship with you, if a guy might want to rein in some of those behaviors that are kind of, you're
Single,
still
like,
advertising.
Understood. Yeah,
Single
then that makes
behavior.
sense. That makes sense. No,
Like,
totally.
I
see
get
your
it.
point.
Women go to bars and nightclubs, but if you want commitment from me, you can't go to the bar and club.
huge point that he just said, because women still want to go to bars, go to clubs, and they still want to pretend to be single, even though they have a partner. And that's quite unfair to the partner. Imagine how a man would feel where you go to a bar or a club where he knows that you're going to be able to get in for free. He knows that you're more than likely going to be dressing provocative. You're going to be pretending to be single. Men are going to be approaching you, buying you drinks, all of this other stuff. He knows that if you're quite beautiful, right? Like, you know, these chicks here, maybe kind of, sort of, you know, you all are probably going to be getting in the VIP because we all know that women don't pay for VIP at clubs and everything. They're typically chasing after men who buy bottles and everything. So, yeah, he knows all of this. He's not going to want you to go to clubs and stuff. You're going to have to act accordingly and appropriately if you're to be in a relationship. You know, you can't walk around with a for sale sign on your back. You have to get rid of it because that's what men look at it as. You're still wanting to live the life of a single gal when you're in a relationship. So, yeah.
Also, building off what he said, again, that carnal like need and desire for sex that guys have programmed into them, like, of course, off the bat, that's going to make them really attracted to women in that line of work. They're like, great, sex. Like, I can get sex all the time. But I think what he's saying, like, it's a good thing when he starts to feel that way because he's starting to see you as something more than just that. When he cares about you, that's when he's going to want to start putting those restrictions into place. So
That makes sense.
it's honestly a good thing.
And also, too, for someone like her, I think she's to the point of just being too set in her own ways, and she's so used to a particular lifestyle, she probably wouldn't even know what a decent man is that's willing to protect and provide for her, even if it smacked her in the face. So, I mean, at this point, you know, her life is dogs and cats, you know? That's it. Just dogs and cats. That's it.
I would also, it's funny too how this conversation has gone. I would also add that protectiveness, if you were to comply with that and be like, yeah, I'll take like, that's what a guy who's going to want to commit to you is going to want from you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I think if he's a good guy and he's asking for that, and your career is that, so you live off of it, that if he's a good guy and that's what you guys want to do in the next part of your relationship, he will help guide you and figure out how you can do that transition so you don't have to lose everything and suffer.
100%. That's good leadership right there.
Here's one of the things, though, that I think a lot of women who are involved in sex work or stripping or doing OnlyFans or just traditional adult content is they make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So I think what
there's
they're
that one
thinking
chick
is,
that made like $70,000 a month.
We've had a lot of girls on the show that
there's more.
make 6 figures a month. And so I think the attitude, at least from what I've interviewed from tons of these girls that have come on the show, is, well, I would stop if they were to continue, if they were really rich guys who could
provide
On
me
your
the same
lifestyle,
quality of
maintain the
life.
lifestyle,
Yeah.
essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a really interesting point. So, rich men, very wealthy men, it's highly unlikely they're going to go for a sex worker and women who expose themselves because he has a reputation to maintain. So he's not going to want to really be seen or be in an elegant situation with a known sex worker who exposes herself online. Typically, men don't move like that. And I'm not speaking of anecdotes and a few far in between. Does it happen? Sure, but the probabilities are very, very slim. Rich men that make high 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures, plus. You know, these guys, they don't move and operate that way. So you'll be better off probably, thinking of other ways to kind of maneuver out of that line of work, and working with someone, including a therapist and, you know, maybe some other folks to help guide you into another line of work if you want a family and all of this other stuff. So
maintain the lifestyle, but that's such a small portion of men that can make
So
that
steep.
amount of money, and so it's like
That's intimidating to guys in and of itself, making that kind of money.
I don't know.
find it intimidating if a woman
Not to
makes
all
that much
guys,
money.
but to some guys, it's intimidating for the female
Or just
to
a turn off.
right.
Yeah, I don't find it attractive if a woman makes a
woman's-
ton of money.
Yeah.
But like, think about what it could do for your dynasty, Chase. Like, and assuming it's not from
Yeah,
sex.
think about it. Think about what it could do to your relationship dynamic. If your woman's making 20 times more money than you are, like, bro, she's
That's my money
wearing the
now.
pants.
That's my money now.
Like that screws up the power dynamic a lot.
And that's another major point because we all know that most women live off of the my money's my money, his money's our money ideology or philosophy. So we know that women would typically not maintain for a long period of time, maintain a man. It's always the other, because women are hypergamous, so they typically would want a man who's going to be the provider and the protector. So
A lot. Like, I'm not interested in that.
To that
personally.
point, the other day when people asked me what I was looking for in a man, and I said, like, I want someone to earn, more money than me, and I named that figure, like, a lot of people were like, oh, like, hypergamous, she's only after the money, but it's literally based off what you said. I know that if I'm not with a man who's going to make more money than me, it's going to completely switch the dynamics in the relationship.
of course, and truth be told, she won't say this, but she won't have any respect for him. She would be very combative, argumentative, confrontational with him. I mean, that power dynamic it's a real thing, especially in Western society, Western culture.
Oh, yeah.
What if she's just super submissive, Chase? But she just
but she's a baller, but super
I don't know.
submissive.
She's got some investments or some shit. You know what I mean?
I mean, dude, like there's definitely a way to make it work.
She got
Like,
some fucking
She got a lot
Dogecoin.
in that.
like if
Bitcoin,
she comes to you,
500.
if she comes to you and she's like, hey, I'm like really rich, but I want to put you in charge of the money. It's like, okay, well, that's a different story.
Alright.
It's a lot
you
of
know?
trust.
So I'm gonna end it right there. But overall, I mean, that was a really interesting video. I want to add to that. It's very rare for a woman to allow her partner to be in charge of her finances. That's incredibly rare. Women don't move or operate that way at all. They keep that money for themselves. They're always looking to extract and hold that near and dear. That's why a lot of things are skewed and weird. But yeah, until the next time, see y'all later. Be sure to like, subscribe. I'm gonna try to post some more stuff. I appreciate all y'all, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.